The stories about Sherlock Holmes. Part 1. Рассказы о Шерлоке Холмсе. The Adventure of the Speckled Band. Helen Stoner tells about her story. I studied the methods of my friend Sherlock Holmes during the last 8 years, and I was sure that he did his work for the love of his art, not for the love of money. Many cases were tragic, some were comic, some mysterious, but they were never ordinary. Of all cases, this one was the most exciting. It all began in those early days when I was living at Sherlock Holmes' flat in Baker Street in London. It was early in April in the year 1883. I woke one morning and saw Sherlock Holmes standing, fully dressed, near my bed. He was a late riser, and as the clock showed me that it was only 7:15, I looked at him in some surprise. "Very sorry to wake you up, Watson," said he. "What is it? A fire?" "No." I cleaned. "I think this young lady has arrived too excited. She is waiting now in the sitting room." Now, when young ladies walk around London at this early hour and knock sleepy people up out of their beds, I think that it is something very important which they have to tell. It is going to be a very interesting case. Would you like to come and listen to what she has got to say? My dear friend, I will be down in a minute. When I came into the sitting room, I saw a lady dressed in black standing by the window. "Good morning, madam," said Holmes. "My name is Sherlock Holmes. This is my true friend, Dr. Watson. So you can speak as freely as before myself. I can see that you are very cold. Move close to the fire and I will ask you to bring a cup of hot coffee." "I am not cold," said the woman, in a low voice. "What then?" "I am afraid of death." She looked very tired and happy, and her face was very white. She had frightened eyes, like those of some hunted animal. She was a young woman of about 30, but her hair was gray. "Don't be afraid of anything in my house. Just tell us everything you have got," said Sherlock Holmes. "We will help you. You have come by train this morning, I see." "You know me, then?" "No, but I noticed the second half of a return ticket in your hand when you took off of your glove. You started your way early in the morning." The lady looked at Holmes surprisingly. "Whatever your reasons, are you absolutely right?" said she. "I started from home before 6, sir. I shall go mad if I get no help. I have heard of you, Mr. Holmes, from Mr. Farnitosh, whom you help a lot. It was from her that I had your address." "Oh, sir, do you not think that you could help me too? Can you explain some mysteries to me? Now I can't pay you, but in a month or 6 weeks I shall be married and will have my own money." Holmes turned to his desk and opened it and looked through some papers. "Farnitosh," said he. "Ah, yes, I can remember her case. I think it was before your time, Watson. I can only say, madam, that I shall be happy to do my best to help you as I did to your friend. As for paying, you can do at the time which you choose. And now tell us your story." "Oh dear," answered the visitor. "The very horror of my situation is that I have no facts to tell you. Nothing that will be of any help to you. I am afraid you can think that I am just a nervous woman, but I have heard, Mr. Holmes, that you can see deeply into the human heart. You may advise me how to walk among the danger around me. Tell me all you know, madam." "My name is Helen Stoner, and I am living with my stepfather. He is the last member of one of the oldest Saxon families in England, the Royalties of Stoke-Moran." "I know the name," said Holmes. "The family was one of the richest in England, but in the last century the family lost their power. When my stepfather was born, they had no money. No, nothing is left, only a small piece of land and old house. When my stepfather was young, he became a doctor because he had to work. He went to India and worked at them successfully. But one day, a tragedy happened. Somebody got into his house and stole many things. My stepfather got so angry that beat his servant to death. My stepfather spent many years in prison and returned to England a happy and angry man. When Dr. Royld was in India, he married my mother, Mr. Stoner. Her husband, my father, was dead at that time. My sister Julia and I were twins, and we were only 2 years old at the time of my mother's second marriage. After our return to England, my mother died and lent all her mother to Dr. Royld, our stepfather. He decided not to work anymore and took us to live with him in the old country house. My mother ordered that when we got married, he should give each us money each year. But a terrible change came over our stepfather about this time. Instead of making friends with our neighborhoods, he shut himself up in his house and seldom came out. But when he did, he became very angry and violent. At last, he became the terror of the village. Now he is more and more violent, and sometimes he fights with the people from the village. Everybody is afraid of him now, and they run away when they see him. His only friends and are disputes. My father loves them, and they can do whatever they want in our house. And he also loves Indian animals. His friends sent him from India. Now he has a cheetah and a baboon which walk freely in our garden. You can imagine from what I say that my poor sister Julia and I had very unhappy lives. Nurse servants stayed with us, and for a long time we did all the work in the house. She was 30, and at the time of her death, and her hair was also gray, like my hair now. Your sister is dead then? She died 2 years ago, and that's why I'm here. 2 years ago, at Christmas time, we were staying at our aunt's in London. There Julia met a young man who asked to marry her. My stepfather agreed, but 2 weeks before the wedding day, a tragedy happened. Sherlock Holmes was listening with his eyes closed, but now he opened them and looked at Helen. Please, tell us about everything about her death, in detail, said he. It is easy for me to do so, because I can remember it all very well. It was a terrible time. But first, I would like to tell you about our house. You can live only in one part of it, because it is very old and not comfortable. Our bedrooms are not the ground floor. The first is Dr. Royld's bedroom. The second is my sister's, and the third it is my bedroom. The rooms all have windows into the garden, and their doors open into the corridor. Do you understand me? Yes, madam. That terrible night, Dr. Royld went to his room early. Later, he went to our bedrooms, but suddenly my sister came into my room. She could not get to sleep because of the smell of the strong Indian cigars. My stepfather liked to smoke them. At 11 o'clock, she left me, but she stopped at the door and looked back. Tell me, Ellen, said she, have you ever heard a whistle at night? Never. It is strange, but about 3 in the morning I hear a low whistle. I am a light sleeper, and it always wakes me. I cannot tell where it comes from, perhaps from the next room. Gypsies? She smiled back at me, closed my door, and a few moments later I heard her key turn into the lock. Why did you lock your doors at night? Said Holmes. Our stepfather kept a cheetah and baboon. We were afraid of them and of gypsies. Please go on. I could not sleep that night. It was a wild, stormy night. The wind was blowing hard. Suddenly, I heard the wild scream of a terrified woman. I knew that it was my sister's wife. I jumped from the bed and ran into the corridor. When I opened my door, I think I heard a low whistle, and a few minutes later, the sound of falling metal. I ran to my sister's door. By the light of the candle lamp, I saw my sister appear. Her face was white with terror, her hands asking for help. I ran to her, but at the moment she fell to the ground. She was in terrible pain. She was crying, "Help me, Helen! I am dying!" And then, "Oh my God, Ellen! It was the band! The speckled band!" She wanted to say something else, but she couldn't, only point her finger to stepfather's room. I called loudly for my stepfather, and he ran out of his room to help her. But we could do nothing. Such was the terrible end of my dear sister. "One moment," said Holmes. "Are you sure about this whistle and metallic sound?" "I think I heard it, but the night was so stormy." "Perhaps I made a mistake." "Was your sister dressed?" "No, she was in her night dress." In her right hand there was found a match. "It means that she tried to look about her. That is important." "And what did the police find?" "They tried, but they couldn't understand why my sister had died. Nobody could get into her room, and they didn't find any poison in her body." "What do you think this unfortunate lady died of then?" "I think that she died of fear and nervous shock." "What frightened her? I can't imagine." Were the gypsies in the house?" "Yes, they are always there." And what is about speckled band?" "Perhaps she meant some band of people, gypsies. Perhaps she was talking about those bands which gypsies wear round their heads." Holmes shook his hand. "Please, go on with your story." "That was 2 years ago, and I have been very lonely without my sister. A month ago, a dear friend asked me to marry me. We are going to marry soon. 2 days ago, my stepfather asked me to move into my sister's room. He wanted to mend the bedroom wall, and I had slept in my sister's bed. Can you imagine my terror when last night I suddenly heard the same low whistle? I jumped up and lit the lamp, but saw nothing. I was too afraid to go to bed again, so I dressed and ran out of the house and came to London to ask for your help." "This is a very deep business," said my friend, "but we must act as quickly as possible. Can we look at all these rooms if we go to your house today, Mrs. Stone? But your stepfather must not know. He is meeting some important people in the London today, so he is out all day long." "Excellent. You will come with me, Watson?" "Thank you, sir." На этом все. В следующем видео выйдет вторая часть. Глава будет называться Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson Visit the House. На этом все. Goodbye. Thank you for watching and listening me.